Owned by the Alavi Foundation, this building in New York's Fifth Avenue has hit the headlines over the past several years. The accusation? Money laundering by transferring cash to Iran. But what is the Alavi Foundation itself? The mission started even before Iran's Islamic Revolution, under the name of the Pahlavi Foundation, to promote the Persian culture and help support Iranians living in the States not to forget their Persian roots. After Iran's Islamic Revolution, much has remained the same, and the foundation still supports Persian schools and community centers, but also Islamic centers and mosques. One of the major goals sought is supporting weekend Persian schools that link Iranian Americans with their Persian heritage. I sat with one of these students as she told me of her experience there. So Nafisa, you went to school in the States and Persian school on the weekends. So where was the Alavi Foundation in this?
Growing up in the States, specifically in the DC metropolitan area, I was always, my parents were always very concerned with me learning about my Persian culture, my Islamic culture. So we were always into going and visiting the Islamic communities, the Islamic schools. And they would put me in weekend Farsi schools, weekend Islamic schools. And I always heard that those were the places that were funded by the Alavi Foundation.
In the last 4 decades, the Alavi Foundation has given millions of dollars to schools, universities, and charitable organizations, among them Harvard, Columbia, and Rutgers University. But the work never stopped there. It has even helped the William Clinton Foundation, and recently the American Red Cross, for Hurricane Sandy relief efforts. So what's the problem then? 40% of the stake of the 36-story tower is said to be owned by Asa Corporation. A federal judge authorized the seizure of this building this week, saying it had violated federal money laundering laws and sanctions against Iran. Prosecutors claim Asa Corporation is a front for a bank owned and controlled by the Iranian government, and that the co-owners have allegedly been transferring rental income back to Tehran. Transferring the yearly rental income, compared to Iran's GDP, looks like a strange joke to experts.
Given Iran's GDP standing at more than $500 billion annually and comparing it to the $4 million, as said by the US officials, it seems it's nothing, and it seems like a joke.
A Jewish Iranian parliamentarian told me that those accusations are ridiculous and are really aimed at Iran's culture.
I think it's a good example of the true idea of USA against Iranian culture and against monotheistic culture. In the sanction, always mention that no problem and no attack would be against cultural activity and no attack against, for example, drug and food.
In a statement, the foundation expressed disappointment for not being given a chance to rebut the government evidence before a jury, still saying it has reviewed the decision and is ready for trial. The future of the organization is now hanging in the balance, and so will be the fate of Persian and Islamic schools. In other words, the connection between nearly 500,000 Iranians living in the US and their cultural roots is indeed in jeopardy. Pedram Khaydari, Press TV, Tehran.